Today we're going to be unboxing and taking a quick look at the Feelworld F6 Plus monitor cage from Nitze. Hey, I'm Scott and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing. We do all kinds of unboxings, test tutorials, reviews, anything photo and video related, so please do consider hitting that little subscribe button under the video and turn on the bell icon to get notifications when new content is uploaded. So a monitor cage is a pretty simple product. It's going to protect your monitor and obviously provide a lot more mounting points for extra accessories and things like that. And usually I'm not actually a big cage user for monitors. I just don't feel like they're typically all that necessary for the monitors that I use, but the Feelworld F6 Plus is a new monitor that has been recently upgraded with a lot of great features like waveforms, and it has a really good user interface, touchscreen interface, so it's very convenient and fun to use. But it does have a very plastic build, and that means if you're using one of those tilt or swivel monitor mounts and you're trying to grab the monitor and adjust the angle, it's going to put a lot of stress on that plastic body, and it's not something I'd feel comfortable doing. So for that reason alone, I think that the Nitze monitor cage is going to make this a much more comfortable to use monitor, in addition to being a very easy to use monitor. So let's get this unboxed, let's get it on here and just take a look at the different design aspects of it. Again, it's a very simple product, but we're going to take it out and see exactly what it looks like. So in the box you get a very nice feeling monitor hood. We'll take a look at that in a second. I've also got a little tilt monitor mount from Nitze, and I'm not sure if this is always going to be included or not, but I have it in the box here, and it does have these anti-twist pins on the top, which make it really secure when you lock it into your monitor. I really like monitor mounts that have that anti-twist feature built into them. This feels very robust. It's a little bit tall, but it feels like a very well-made monitor mount. You've got a bunch of screws and tools and all of the things that you would need. You got some 1/4 to 3/8 inch adapters and all that good stuff. So we'll take a look at what's in there after as well. And then you have the monitor cage itself. So the monitor cage actually feels surprisingly lightweight. It feels very well made, but it feels very lightweight, which is great because again, this is a pretty lightweight monitor to begin with. I don't want to add a whole lot of extra bulk and weight to it just to have this extra protection. You have these recessed holes for screws on the bottom and the top, which again give it that extra security because you're not only screwing this in at the bottom, you do have that bottom and top screw mounting option on the F6 Plus, which is really great just to give it a little bit extra security. Right next to that, again on the bottom and on the top, you have the screw threads, the 1/4 screw threads with the slot on the side of them to allow for those anti-twist pins, like I said, on the Nitze monitor mount that will go right into there, so that way it's not going to twist out of place, going to come loose on its own. And on the top you do have these extra 1/4 screw threads on the side of that as well, where you don't have them on the bottom. On the right side you have a bunch of extra mounting threads, and I do appreciate that they have these anti-twist holes on the side there, so if you have something like this Nitze magic arm, then that also has those anti-twist screws, and that'll lock right into there, so that way when you're mounting something extra on here, it's not going to twist out of place. Especially when you're mounting something on the side here, it's very easy to twist out of place under the weight of whatever you're mounting. So that's a really key thing to have, and I appreciate that they not only added 1 or 2, but also 3 and 4, you know, all of these basically, except for this one right here, do have those pins on the side of it. And I really do recommend this Nitze magic arm as well. I really loved using it. On the left side, this is where you're going to be connecting your HDMI cables on the monitor, if you look right here, and also your DC power jack if you're using that. So they do have a couple of screw threads here, one with those locking threads again. And I'm expecting that something in this bag, I'm going to take this out in a second, something in here is going to be kind of a support for your HDMI cables to hold those in place. That's another benefit of a cage for a monitor, is to be able to lock your HDMI cables in place, because those can sometimes be a little bit fragile or easy to bump into and do some damage. Around the face of the cage you have these little slits, and that's going to be to strap in the Nitze sun hood. And again, this is not the brightest monitor on the market, so using that Nitze sun hood is going to be a great way to add to the usability by bringing it outdoors. Now this here is going to be your HDMI cable bracket, I guess you could call it. So it's going to screw into the side of the cage with those 2 screws there on the top, and then you've got a little screw to actually just tighten down right into the HDMI cable itself. We'll see how that works by connecting a cable in just a minute. You've got your 1/4 to 3/8 inch screw adapter, although there are no 3/8 inch screw mounts on the cage itself. So this is something that I'm going to imagine is to be used otherwise, not necessarily together straight with this cage. You've got these 2 screws to screw the cage into the top and the bottom of the monitor, as well as these little rubber gaskets. And then you've got 2 hex wrenches included here, one which is a little bit larger to screw in the top and bottom screws, as well as the actual HDMI bracket into the cage, and then the smaller one to screw in those actual screws which hold the HDMI cable cables in place. So just placing this right over the monitor, that's actually got a really nice look to it. I really like the way that looks. Doesn't add a whole lot of size, and like I said, it doesn't add a whole lot of weight to the monitor, just gives it a little bit more of a robust feeling, which is the purpose of a cage for a monitor. Alright, so that's a nice and secure fit. So you can see that we still have access to our menu dial, we still have access to our power button, we still have access to our headphone jack and our DC in cable at the bottom, as well as our SD card slot. And of course we have access to the HDMI ports and the DC in on the side there. I'll just quickly show you now this monitor mount locking into here because of those extra pins there that will slide right into the little slot, the little groove on either side of that screw thread. So just screw that in. This is a really nice robust monitor mount, but that's not going to twist out of place. Even if there's a little bit of play, if the screw is not completely tight, those pins are going to stop it from spinning free. So you really don't have to worry about this coming loose on you, which it definitely happens with others. If you were to use something like this Nitze magic arm to lock into the side of the cage, then you can just lock it right in here. And again, those pins will go right into those holes. So even if I'm not tightening it down all the way, it's still not going to twist out of place, which is really, really great. So let's go ahead and attach the HDMI clamp here. Again, you've got these two screws and this will just go in right at the top here. Alright, so you can take these screws out and then flip it over and put the screws in from the other side, allowing you to attach it with this little protrusion, I guess you could say, facing forward. And just for me, with this particular HDMI cable, that seems to be the way that allows the HDMI cable to fit in. But again, you can do that. You can flip these screws to the other side. You can also switch these attachment screws to the other side. So whatever you need to make it fit. So now you can see that that is really secure. So one side of it is being held in place by this screw. The other side is butting up against this part of the bracket, which I have placed that way and then screwed down tightly. So you can slide this back and forth, however it lands flush up against one side of your HDMI cable, and then the other side will screw in to hold it in place. And that seems to work pretty well. It's nice that these screws here are attached. They're not just loose screws, so when you do remove this, the screws will stay in place. So if you want to take this out and put it in your pocket or throw it into your bag, you don't have to worry about losing those two screws which attach it to the monitor. Little detail, but a nice one. Also, these little screws that hold the HDMI cable in place are grooved on the side, and I wouldn't suggest super tightening them down anyway, since you're going to be tightening in straight to a HDMI cable. So generally speaking, I think you can just use your fingers to tighten and loosen these little screws that hold the cables in place, and it shouldn't be a problem. So even though I say it's not toolless, it's not toolless once you actually get it attached. These two screws here are going to be the only ones that I think you really do need a tool if you need to adjust or attach or remove this. Just to try out one more HDMI cable, I haven't moved this bracket's position, I haven't slid it back and forth, and this position does seem to work also for this HDMI cable. So once you find that position that works, and for me it was with this little protrusion facing forward and sliding it back just a little bit. Again, putting the HDMI cable in first, sliding it back till it butts up against it, and then tightening these down. But that seems to work for multiple cables for me, so all that I'll have to adjust now is these little screws every time I put in a HDMI cable or take one out. I spent too long talking about the HDMI bracket. Let's move on to the sun hood. So the sun hood is a pretty robust sun hood. It's not just like flimsy plastic. It does have this kind of felt lining on the inside here, so it should be non-reflective for sunlight, which is great. It does have this Velcro fabric along here too, which means that if you do have that kind of Velcro frame around here, you can also use it with that, which is nice because you don't have to use the cage to use this sun hood, and it is a very nice sun hood, better than the one that's provided by Feelworld. And then it has these Velcro straps. There's two on the top and one on either side, and like I said, if you're using it with this cage, that's where it's going to slide through these little slits on the front face of the actual cage. So let's go ahead and put the top two through first, and then just pull them tight and reattach them to the Velcro on the hood. Pull that tight, reattach it, slide it through, pull it tight, reattach it, and that is a very secure sun hood on there now. So very robust, like I said, much better than the plastic sun hood that comes with the monitor. So all in all, Nitze won me over with this. I am not a monitor cage user, like I said, but this will be living on my Feelworld F6 Plus. It doesn't add a lot of size, doesn't add a lot of weight, but it definitely adds a lot of versatility. It holds on securely. It has those anti-twist locking screws on the top and the bottom and the sides, which really makes it easy to attach things like this Nitze magic arm, which I love. If you're using the Feelworld F6 Plus heavily, then I would highly recommend this, because if you're using something like a tilt or twist monitor mount, which I suggest that you do because they really make it a lot nicer to adjust your monitor, you don't want to go and put a lot of stress on the plastic body of the monitor itself. So this will solve that problem. You can grab this, you can tilt this and twist this all you want, and it's not going to be putting extra stress on that plastic body. And that means that the monitor will last you a lot longer. So if you have any questions or comments, please do let me know down below and I will do my best to get back to you. But otherwise, if you like this video or find it helpful, do consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribing if you haven't already. And as always, thank you for watching.